What is up, guys? Welcome back to another quick video here on the Fantasy Fellowship channel. My name is Kyle. In this video, we're going to go over the 2021 red zone stats. I think this is a very useful piece of information to look into. We can identify some trends, look and see who's getting the ball in the red zone as far as running backs go. At wide receivers, we'll look and see who's getting the targets, and we'll even take a peek at the quarterbacks just to see who is the most productive in that area. And then at the end of the video, if you hang on tight, we're going to make a drafters.com best ball pick. If you guys are new to drafters.com, use my promo code in the link below and get you, I guess, once you sign up, you get a free $10. I get a $10 kickback. That's good for everybody. Go and play some best ball leagues or get into some MLB, some NBA. You get into some daily games too. So drafters.com, link in the description below. But red zone stats 2021, this is on the fantasyfellowship.com. I'll put that link in the description below too. But if you just go to our content tab here, hit the red zone stats. This is all the free content that I'm putting out. You got tons of stuff here. I just put up my rankings, and you can kind of see just a bunch of useful research tools. And if you're interested in getting in early on the 2022 draft kit, it is available. It's live now. So all my projections and my rankings and stuff are there. I'm going to continue to build it all summer here for you guys and get you dialed in. But let's take a look here, starting at the running backs. I think this is one of the most important tools for a running back. Again, PPR, half PPR, it doesn't really matter. You want your guy to score touchdowns, and the guys who get the most opportunity in the red zone, that's what we care about. So look no further. The man at the top here, Jonathan Taylor, 85 rushing attempts in the red zone. The next closest guy had 46. That was Austin Eckler. So Jonathan Taylor, heavy usage here, 14 touchdowns. And what's crazy is, I mean, look at a guy like Austin Eckler, 46 attempts. He still had 12 touchdowns. Damien Harris down here at 44, 13 touchdowns. James Conner, 41 attempts, 15 touchdowns. So Jonathan Taylor, as many carries as he got, he didn't even lead the league in red zone touchdowns. So guys and trends that we want to identify for this coming season. Of course, Jonathan Taylor, he's probably the first overall draft pick in most drafts this season. Continue to do so with Matt Ryan. It should be even a little bit more stable of an offense. So I'm excited about Jonathan Taylor at the #1 spot. And then after that, you got a guy like Austin Eckler. I think he's a top 5 pick in PPR leagues. Again, 46 rushing attempts, 156 yards, and 12 rushing touchdowns. Primarily, he's known as a pass receiving back. So if you take him in PPR, you're still going to get all the goal line carries you can handle. And they didn't really bring in too much behind him. Of course, they did draft Isaiah Spiller, I think, in the 4th round. And then after that, they didn't re-sign Justin Jackson. And there's an opportunity for Austin Eckler to regain a top 5 workload here in the red zone. Dalvin Cook coming in at #3. Now, what's interesting about this is he didn't play a full season last year. He really hasn't in most of his career, but 45 attempts, 112 yards, and then only 5 touchdowns. A little bit low of a number for him, but with the new offensive coordinator and the head coach there, you're going to kind of look at the Rams offense the last few seasons, and you're going to give that to Dalvin Cook. There's already rumors of him being more useful as a receiver, so I like his receiving workload to go up. And then I would expect the Minnesota offense to be a little bit more efficient, get to the red zone a little bit more, and they're going to lean heavily on Dalvin Cook. So he's one of my favorite first-round picks for a running back. And up next, you have Sony Michel, so the LA Rams, giving Michel 4th most carries, 45, I guess, tied for 3rd here. Not a lot of yards, but he did get the touchdowns, only 4. They kind of mixed him in with Darrell Henderson at various times throughout the season. But now you're looking at a guy like Cam Akers. So that excites me, because you could essentially just put Cam Akers' name here, give him those 45 to 50 touches in the red zone and see what happens. So I'm interested in Cam Akers getting a pretty big workload in the red zone this season. Damien Harris, now he had 13 rushing touchdowns. He had 15 total, so he was able to break a couple from beyond the 20. But New England's going to continue to lean on the running game. Damien Harris, maybe even see Ramondre Stevenson dip into that a little bit. I think it's crazy to expect another 13 to 15 touchdowns from Damien Harris, but good odds to get at least 8 to 10. I think as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a really good standard league play. I don't know if I like him for half PPR and PPR purposes, but if you are in a touchdown standard league, that's where I like Damien Harris. Now, Antonio Gibson. Oh, so much to say here with Gibson. They draft Brian Robinson. They re-signed J.D. McKissick, which he meddled with some red zone usage stats. He didn't crack the top 25 in carries because he missed some of the season. But Gibson, I doubt we're going to see him this high. It'd be nice for him to get the 40 attempts, but I'm kind of fading Gibson right now. He wasn't a very efficient runner here either. You see 43 attempts, only 72 yards. That's the worst on this list. So not an efficient red zone rusher. Carson Wentz is in there now too, so he might even steal a goal line touchdown or 2. So I think the touchdowns for Gibson, He could still hit 7, but I think his efficiency is going to go down in that regard. I like to see David Montgomery up here again. He didn't even play a full season last year. We did have Khalil Herbert, the rookie, get a handful of starts. And he comes in with 43 attempts, 76 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I think between the two, Gibson, Montgomery, I'm taking Montgomery as kind of a floor here. I think he's going to be a top 10 attempts guy in the red zone. We'll see if Justin Fields steals some touchdowns in here, but I still think Montgomery's a good bet for the workload in the red zone. James Conner, this one was easily predictable last season. They signed James Conner to be the big back role. The year before that, they had Kenyon Drake do a ton of goal line work, and he led the league in red zone touchdowns with 15. And in terms of replacements, Chase Edmonds is gone. They drafted Keontae Ingram, who's a fun rookie back who could, press for some playing time, but I don't think he's going to steal the goal line work. Now, the interesting guy here that they did bring in, the veteran Darrell Williams, who was a goal line red zone kind of beast for Kansas City the last handful of seasons. So maybe not a full complement of touchdowns here for James Conner, but I still like him to lead the team in red zone carries and be a double-digit touchdown contributor. Leonard Fournette, we're going to see his workload continue to be a top 10 red zone back. I like him. Alvin Kamara with the legal situations, I don't really have anything good to say about that. He wasn't very efficient in the red zone, 87 yards, 40 attempts, only 3 touchdowns. So I guess his efficiency could go up. We're just waiting to see if the league suspends him or anything for his Las Vegas arrest. And then just looking at the rest of the guys here, Nick Chubb leading the way, Cleveland. He's going to be a top red zone back. A.J. Dillon. Now you see Aaron Jones down here at 19. A.J. Dillon had 7 more red zone carries, a little bit more yards, and 5 touchdowns to Aaron Jones's 4. Now I'm in the camp of I want both A.J. Dillon and or Aaron Jones on my team this year. Jones costs roughly a top 25 pick. A.J. Dillon, you can get him round 6, round 7 right now, and I think. Of course, Davante Adams parting from Green Bay, you're going to see a little bit more attention in the running game. And Green Bay's got a fantastic defense this year. You might see A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones continue to be top 15 backs here in the red zone usage this season. And don't forget, 2018, Matt LaFleur's first season with the Packers, I think Aaron Rodgers only threw about 28 or 29 touchdowns. Aaron Jones led the league in touchdowns that year. So we could see some of those passing numbers and touchdowns go to these running backs. So I'm interested in Dillon there. Joe Mixon, I would like to see his numbers go even higher. So I think this is kind of his floor. They invested a lot into the offensive line this year, and I love that. What sticks out here is his 67.2% rush rate in the red zone. So that's the percentage of times he got the ball there. So I like that number. Singletary, a good bet here to be a continued red zone success. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams down here, both Denver running backs. I would imagine that's going to flip-flop this year. I think we're going to see more Javonte. Josh Jacobs is up here. Ezekiel Elliott's up here. Derrick Henry probably would have been top 10 if he finished the whole season. And then Myles Gaskin getting 3 touchdowns, 31 total attempts here. Maybe we see that go towards, I don't know if Raheem Mostert's going to be ready, but they did sign Sony Michel. Maybe Chase Edmonds gets some of those, so that's interesting. You have Jalen Hurts here, who 9 rushing touchdowns, 31 attempts, 101 yards. Miles Sanders owners last year, they know that was not fun. Continue to expect Jalen Hurts to lead the league in red zone attempts for quarterbacks. You also have Josh Allen making the list. There's Cordero Patterson. I don't know if he's going to be as efficient as last year, especially with Marcus Mariota running quarterback. And then Najee Harris, I would expect his attempts to go up in the red zone with a Trubisky and a potential rookie play caller. So check out those running back stats. And then I did put the link for Pro Football Reference here. If you wanted to look at these, you can even see like inside the 10, inside the 5. These are very good numbers. I just looked at inside the 20 and went from there. If you did go inside the 5, numbers get a little bit different. Taylor, Connor, Harris, Mixon, top 4 here. So I'm big fans of Joe Mixon this season. But let's move on to the receiving group here. Now, in terms of targets here, Cooper Kupp, 37 total targets here. He caught 26 of those, and he had 13 red zone touchdowns. That was tops in the league. Of course, his massive season last year, no surprise there. He's outside of Jonathan Taylor. He's kind of the consensus number 2 pick in fantasy leagues right now. Next, you have Stephon Diggs, 34 targets, and you see the drop off. Kupp, Diggs, and then Adams, a clear 7-target differential here. And Stephon Diggs did catch 10 red zone touchdowns. He's lethal in that area. Josh Allen looks for him. Continue to take Stephon Diggs end of round 1. If you get him round 2, that's a perfect steal. Devontae Adams, now in Green Bay, 27 total red zone targets, 10 touchdowns. I would expect similar, a top 5, potential red zone workload for him with Derek Carr. Chris Godwin, interesting. So Godwin, 25 targets, and then you have to go all the way down here to Mike Evans, get 18. where Mike Evans, I mean, 12 catches, 9 touchdowns. He had more touchdowns in this area than Chris Godwin, but Godwin's potential knee injury could hold him out for the first 6 games. So I think you could see Mike Evans leap and make a top 10 debut. Not a debut, but a top 10 finish in red zone targets wouldn't surprise me. Tom Brady loves looking for his big, tall receiver. Tyreek Hill, interesting to see. I guess it's with Kansas City, but if he makes some noise with Tua, that could be interesting. I would expect, I mean, you have to go all the way down the list here. You don't see a Miami receiver here, not even Jalen Waddle. So I'm not excited for Tyreek Hill's touchdown output this year. We'll see if he is a priority in the red zone, though, for the Dolphins. Hunter Renfrow, he's going to come crashing down with Devontae Adams in town. Deontay Johnson could still potentially be a top 10 red zone weapon here in targets. 21 total targets, 5 touchdowns. Mark Andrews, I'm going to expect him to be a top 5 guy. 9 touchdowns last year. Cameron Brate crashing the top 10 with 20 targets, 4 touchdowns. Now, we still don't know if Rob Gronkowski is going to play this year. You don't even see Gronk on this list, but I find it very interesting. You look at Godwin at 4, Cameron Brate at 10, and Mike Evans here at 16. So 3 Tampa Bay playmakers crashing this list here. I think this might just continue to roll to Mike Evans while Godwin is away. Zach Ertz, this is between 2 teams. He could be in for another nice red zone workload with the Arizona Cardinals. Pat Freiermuth, I think if you play, tight end sleeper game, Pat Freiermuth is probably going up. He's being drafted outside the top 10 for wide receiver or for tight end. And I just think, man, 7 touchdowns last year. You think about Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, they're going to lean on him in the short to intermediate game. So I think Pat Freiermuth could be a fun guy. 20 targets for him last year. Justin Jefferson, I'd like to see this number come up a little bit. Adam Thielen still had a red zone presence last year. He didn't make the list, but I would expect Justin Jefferson to maybe make a leap into the top 10. DK Metcalf is here. Mike Williams is here as well. He only caught 7 of his 19 targets, but 4 touchdowns. Maybe he gets a little bit more efficient in this category. I think he could be a top 10 threat. I already talked about Evans. Tyler Higbee, though, coming in hot. You do see Robert Woods down here at the bottom of the list, so he probably would have finished much higher had he finished the season. But Higbee, an interesting tight end sleeper guy. 5 touchdowns, 18 targets. Again, interested to see if he can keep that going. Marvin Jones, 18 for Trevor Lawrence. Dawson Knox, so he's the second Buffalo Bill on this list. I know a lot of people are excited about this man right here, Gabe Davis, which I think you should be. And it wouldn't surprise me with Emmanuel Sanders out of town, Cole Beasley out of town, if these Knox and Davis, get a little bit more red zone targets here. AJ Green, interesting guy here. That's good for Marquise Brown. Hunter Henry, the preferred target for Mac Jones near the red zone. There's Marquise Brown. That could go towards Rashad Bateman's way. Tyler Conklin here. That makes me feel good things for Irv Smith coming back. Austin Eckler, just a beast, man. 14 catches, 16 targets, 135 yards, and 8 touchdowns. The man just dominated. He had 20 red zone touchdowns last year. Continue to expect Eckler to be at the tops of this list. There's Kelsey with 16. He's probably going to move up towards where Tyreek Hill was. Tyreek Hill was a top 6 guy with 23 targets. You're probably going to see him somewhere in the 20s, I would imagine. And then Michael Pittman, Robert Woods. On Pittman, I love Michael Pittman, guys. If you can get him in the 4th round of drafts this year, I have him ranked as like a top 10 receiver in my projection. So Pittman with Matt Ryan, expect those numbers to go up. He's a much more efficient quarterback than Carson Wentz. So I'm all in on Michael Pittman. And that's the receivers, the top 30 receivers targets last year. Again, go ahead and click that link if you want to get into the nuts and bolts here. They do have an inside the 10 measure as well. And then the quarterbacks. Passing, Matt Stafford up here. So I'm not sure how they graded these. I think it's by touchdown. That's the way it looks like. So Stafford, 32 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, Tom Brady right here, 30 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was the most efficient in this category. And that just, man, I'm pounding the table for Mike Evans this year in the 3rd round. Josh Allen, 28 touchdowns, tied with Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert. Nothing really separates these guys too much here. They're all kind of about the same percentages. If anything, I think, we're going to expect Aaron Rodgers to dip down a little bit and probably be more towards, Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz territory, maybe 19 to 22 red zone touchdowns. And again, more towards A.J. Dillon, more towards Aaron Jones. But otherwise, I love Herbert. I love Josh Allen. Dak Prescott here too at 26, tied with Mahomes, both top 5 potential quarterbacks this year. Now, Kirk Cousins, I mentioned before, I think Justin Jefferson's going to get a little bit more red zone work his way. Also talks of Dalvin Cook being more used as a receiver. You could see Kirk Cousins take a little step up here. And 8th is a good spot, man. They like to throw when they get there. Again, I'm expecting more Dalvin Cook this year, but Kirk Cousins, super steady. If you want to wait on quarterback, I think you can make a tandem of like Kirk Cousins and even like Derek Carr or something like that. So interesting numbers here. I'm not going to get too far into the nuts and bolts here. Jalen Hurts wasn't the best red zone passer. Kyler Murray was actually the worst. 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only 51.39% completion. Just kind of struggled. 37 of 72, just not the best. Jalen Hurts is actually a better red zone quarterback. And with that rushing upside, that Hurts has more rushing upside than Kyler Murray. That's crazy to say, but there we are. And then Lamar Jackson didn't play a full complement of games, but he did rack up 12 touchdowns. And then Jameis Winston, 11 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. Only 31 attempts, too. I think that ratio is extremely high. So I think Winston, you could see some more touchdowns. He's one of my favorite QB2 sleepers. So that's it. That's the 2021 red zone rushing stats. I think we could be looking at this stuff, and it makes sense, man. We're going to see the same usage for a lot of these teams and players. And the things that changed, I mentioned across this video. But let's get into the drafters.com pick. I do have one best ball pick to make. And if you're still here with me, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're new. We're going to be pumping out tons of content for you guys the rest of the way. And then I'm just going to do a recap here. This is what I'm working with in drafters. I have a bunch of best ball picks going on right now, a bunch of different leagues. And let's see what I am working with here. So I started my draft here with McCaffrey. I came back with Jalen Waddle. I don't think that was the best pick. I should have taken Mike Evans. Gibson here. I think this was my my sister's wedding weekend where I got auto picked a couple picks on that day. But I did come back with Michael Pittman, round 4, one of my guys. Travis Etienne, round 5, sounds good. Darnell Mooney's one of my guys. I got the Russell Wilson and Russell Gage. Again, I mentioned Mike Evans maybe having a big start to the year. Russell Gage is going to be the wide receiver 2 to start the year. There's Dawson Knox. I like Chase Edmonds, Jamison Crowder, Tua Tagovailoa, J.D. McKissick, Gerald Everett. Don't sleep on that Chargers tight end, starting tight end there, and then Ryan Tannehill to wrap up my 3 QB line there. So we're drafting here. Looks like in the 16th round. I think I'm good at running back. You see McCaffrey, Gibson, which we know we don't love, but Etienne, Edmonds, McKissick, this is a good group of guys to hold down the fort for 2 running back spots. The receivers, Waddle, Pittman, Mooney, Gage, and Crowder. I probably need to start hammering some more wide receivers here. So the guys that stick out, and again, if I filter here by ADP, Ridley, we know is not playing. Josh Palmer, though, this is an interesting player here. 3 of his last 5 games, he caught a touchdown. 4 for 45 against the Raiders, 5 for 43 against the Texans, 5 for 66 against the Giants, and the touchdown in each of those games. So for best ball, Josh Palmer's arrow is pointing up as a potential guy here. He'd be my number 6 wide receiver. Again, I have Gerald Everett here, so I want more Chargers pieces if I can get them. There's Van Jefferson. We talked about Van Jefferson. We didn't talk about Van Jefferson, but we talked about Stafford throwing the ball the most touchdowns in the red zone last year. Maybe Van Jefferson. He's locked and loaded there as the wide receiver 3. He could be in for a really nice year. He struggled at the end of the year last year, but for the most part, man, you see a lot of nice games here. A 21-point game against Arizona, 14, 11, 18, 16, another 10 here. So he's a guy, sneaky season last year. 802 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's potentially 6 times he could start for us if he puts up a high best ball score. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and stick. Josh Palmer's ADP is 170.9, and I'm getting him here at 188. So that's tremendous value to me. To be my wide receiver 6, he's going to end up scoring for us a handful of times. So I'm locked and loaded here. Josh Palmer, that's going to be the pick. I'm not sure why it's not loading. But yeah, that's the move here. Josh Palmer is going to be the pick. And that's going to do it for this video. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Check us out on TikTok. There's links in the description below. Check out that 2022 draft kit. Get all your good stuff. And drafters.com. Get in the best ball thick of it. Again, people are paying for these leagues. They're as little as $1.10. So very cost effective and just a lot of fun to just be drafting all summer and seeing where the ADPs go. So I'm going to make that pick. You guys have a good rest of your evening, and we'll see you in a future video. Peace.